Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Social Media Derby. We're running it back to the original two. Just Johnson and I on this week's pod. Reese might be joining a little bit way through. But before we get into the podcast, for those watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, share if you can. For those listening on Spotify, Apple, or any other podcasting platform, please follow, give us a 5-star review. And of course, the views expressed in the podcast are just for entertainment purposes, all jokes, not our real opinions if they are not football related. How you doing, Johns? You all good?
Yeah, mate, all good. Busy weeks, but football's finally back.
I know, yeah, it's been a long one. Last international break until March, so at least we can chill for a little bit on that. We've got a nice heavy schedule going forward in terms of the English Premier League and Europe and all those other bits. But yeah, got a massive game on the weekend as well. It's kind of crept up on us. I wasn't on the last pod, but I don't know if you guys talked about it a little bit, but it's Arsenal Spurs, first North London derby this weekend. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I'm feeling all right about it, but obviously the international break has not gone as well as I would like it to have gone based off of like injuries and stuff like that. Obviously Gabriel pulling up, looking like he's going to be out for a month or two. And he usually likes to score against Spurs, so that's left me a little bit deflated. But obviously, given the fact that we've got Hincapié and quite a lot of depth, I'm still positive. At the same time, we've got a lot of other injuries, so obviously I'm still confident that we'll do a good job. But it's not necessarily the best in terms of kind of availability right now. But I'm sure Spurs fans will say the same thing about them, right? They haven't got Maddison and all those lots, so. Yes, it's going to be an interesting game at the Emirates as well. We usually do all right there. I don't think they've beaten us at the Emirates in a very, very long time. So looking forward to it for sure. Got a big game on Monday night as well, mate.
Yeah, we're playing on Monday night, so it seems like now, I think I saw the schedule, like every home game until, I don't know if it's like Boxing Day or something like that, we've got on Monday nights because of the lack of European football. So we're always going to be playing on Mondays, it seems like, going into this crucial period. But definitely United Everton is not quite Arsenal Spurs, but I like how you've tried to segue me into the conversation.
Derby, mate.
True.
And it's also nice that you're playing on Mondays, because now they're trying to stifle your ability to go and play your Saudi friendlies, whatever you were trying to do in the midweek.
Yeah, I do think that. I mean, I don't know how much that's played a part. I'm sure it is probably a coincidence / mutual benefit of us playing on Mondays for the Premier League. I'm sure they didn't want us to go to Saudi and play friendlies, but it's mainly because of the Europe thing, innit? I saw it was something to do with us because we don't have any midweek games. It helps when it comes to scheduling for our opponents and stuff that do have midweek games a lot of the time, especially the teams that will be in Europe. But yeah, it does stink a little bit if you think about, especially for the home games anyway, away fans travelling quite far to go all the way up to Manny or all the way down to Manny for a Monday evening game. It's a bit rough, but in terms of viewing, it does make it slightly more relaxing going into the weekend, knowing you're the last game of the round. You can just chill and enjoy Saturday and Sunday. But let's see how it goes. We need the results to go in our way, otherwise it's going to be like stressful every Monday. But let's go into the Arsenal game first. Obviously, you mentioned it just now. Arsenal Spurs. Gabriel is the big injury, I'm absolutely pissed because I literally changed my FPL team to include Gabriel. And he's quite expensive. Those of you who play FPL will know. So that's completely screwed me now. So I've had to bench him, and I'll have to wait till next week to take him out. But yeah, big blow. A lot of people are saying you guys are probably more well equipped to cope with this kind of injury than before. But what about going forward? Do you think Hincapi or Calafiori maybe going into centre back, or Ben White, or any of those guys that come in? Do you think they can go anywhere close to replicating his attacking prowess? Because he's one of the most highest goal scoring centre backs in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think anybody's going to be able to replicate what he does in terms of scoring from all of the kind of centre back or defensive options you've got. So I don't think that we're expecting Hincapié to come in and start banging in headers or anything else like that. Really, I don't even mind about that. My major concern is just continuing to keep a good, solid defensive record. Going forward, though, I'm worried, but not specifically about set pieces, just in general about how we spread and kind of stretch the defence of Tottenham. We know that obviously that they are susceptible every now and then to a bozo moment. We know that they've got people like Van de Ven who maraud and kind of leave their defensive position. So I'm more worried about, okay, is Mourinho going to do this thing that he usually does where he kind of just drops into kind of more of a midfield role? I feel like this game would have been perfect for Gyökeres, that type of attacker, to really try and stay on the shoulder, push Spurs back as much as we can, and then kind of enable Saka, Trossard, Martinelli, whoever's going to start to kind of get a one-on-one opportunity with their defensive counterpart. So I'm more worried about that part going forward, but I do think we'll be able to unlock and score a goal at some point. But at the same time, there's always the possibility with now their manager being Thomas Frank that they will set up a real dirty low block against us. Because I remember we've had a lot of hard games against Brentford previously when he was managing against us, and I know that he is very kind of like not reactive manager, but he definitely like sets his team up and his tactics up to play against that specific opponent, right? He's not just ignoring it and trying to play his style and ignoring what the other team might do. So there is a chance also that happens. So I'm actually not predicting it to be a super high scoring game. But yeah, the going forward is what worries me more really than defensively. But as you mentioned, like if we do start him left back, I still think he poses a threat, not necessarily a set piece threat, but just a threat. If we go in another direction and start MLS instead of back, I also think he's got kind of an attacking threat going forward as well. So it will really depend on what that lineup looks like. I'm trying to think, like, outside of Gabriel, who do I think in our kind of defense is really attacking in set piece? Maybe Ben White. I mean, we somehow brought Ben White into the fold. That could potentially be a threat from set pieces, because I know he likes a bit of tomfoolery on set pieces and corners and stuff. That helps us. But yeah, it's not looking good from an offensive standpoint, from my point of view.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to think back to points in last season where I feel like wasn't Gabriel out for little pockets of a couple of weeks here and there last season, and I seem to remember Saliba popped up with a few from set pieces instead. Timber popped up with a few from set pieces, and it kind of like, instead of just transferring his output directly to one person, kind of like a couple of different of your defensive players kind of popped up with those kind of with those goals and assists instead. So maybe that's what Arteta will go for, kind of bring in a Hincapié or something like that, but not necessarily use them as a like for like when it comes to Gabriel's offensive output. Maybe shift it to Saliba or Timber, who have some of the attributes that Gabriel has, but not necessarily both or all of them combined. But I definitely think it's going to be tricky. On the Spurs side, they're obviously much better away. So I think that's probably actually, even though they've got a horrid record at the Emirates, it may be beneficial for them to actually go and play you guys if they have to play away. And as you mentioned, Frank is not scared to set up slightly in a lower block and play a bit more defensively solid, and that might set them up. But the only thing I worry about for them on that side is their attack stinks. I know they conceded, they scored 2 against us, but those were poor goals that we gave up, and I don't think an Arsenal team, even missing Gabriel, are going to concede those kind of goals. I know the Sunderland game, the goals you conceded were a bit rough, and also ones that you might think are easy goals to give up, and you shouldn't really be letting them in. But I can't see that happening 2 weeks in a row with the strength and solidity you've had in defence. So I think it's going to be an interesting game for sure. But I think it's in terms of storylines, I think Gabriel being injured, the Spurs team kind of being a little bit in flux. It's not like you imagine some of the previous North London derbies when you had Aubameyang and different players like that, Ozil, whatever, and they had Kane and Son and all these big hitters. It kind of feels a little bit different. It doesn't quite feel like you've got that stardust. Obviously, Gyökeres is missing for you guys as well, right? So even from the attack standpoint, you're not going to be at full strength. So I think it might make it a more intriguing game actually that way. But I did enjoy it more when you had the Kane and Son versus the Aubameyangs and Ozils and different players that you had at that time. But let's see how it shakes up. When we go to the predictions, which we'll go to now, but I'll give just a quick prediction league update just in case those have missed out. I know we didn't have predictions last week, obviously international break. So just a refresher, Io is top with 42 points and 8 correct scores. Jonty, you're in second with 39 points and 6 correct scores. Kem is in third with 37 and 6 correct scores. Reese is fourth, he is fourth outright, 36.6 correct scores. I'm fifth with 36 and 5 correct scores. Razor's sixth with 36 points and 4 correct scores. And Nash is obviously still bottom, quite a way away. 24 points and 2 correct scores. So Io's prediction comes in first. He's gone Arsenal 3-1. Johns, what's your prediction on this one?
I've gone for a 2-0 Arsenal win. I was kind of split between 1-0 and 2-0. But I'm going to go for a more confident score prediction and say 2-0. Arsenal we get not an early goal, but we get it in the first half, and then we kind of close it out late on in the game, maybe with 85th minute goal, kind of just to seal it and make it look a little bit better. But I think it's not the most exciting of North London derby, particularly based off the one that we've had in previous times. So, yeah, confident that we'll win, but I don't think it's going to be the most glorious game to watch.
Yeah. I've gone for a similar preview, similar prediction on mine. But before we get to mine, Kem's gone 2-1 Spurs. What a joker. Reese has gone 2-0 Arsenal. And yeah, for me, I've also gone 2-0. I see it going a similar way to the way you described. I think you might get an early goal, but I just feel like you'll get the first goal and then Spurs will actually have to change the way they play. And then I think that leaves the spaces open for a Martinelli if he doesn't start to come on and have an impact, or someone along those lines to go nick the second goal. I think it's going to be tight. I don't see loads of goals in this one. So I think 2-0 is a fairly safe bet. Razor's gone 2-1 Arsenal. And then Nash has followed a similar theme to Kem and gone 2-1 Spurs. But at this point, Nash is he's going Hail Mary to try and catch up points. So I get what he's trying to do here. All right. Yeah, it feels a bit quick to move on after the North London derby, but I agree. I don't know if it's because it's after the international break. I don't know if it's because of that injury to Gabriel. I don't know if it's because of those things that we just mentioned, but it just doesn't feel like the energy's there. You know what I mean? Normally before North London derby, there's just like, you can feel it. And I don't know if it's because of where the teams are. I don't know if it's because of the things I just mentioned, but just that energy is not there, man. So let's move on. Let's go on to Liverpool, Nottingham Forest. Yeah. Two teams in very different positions. Obviously, Forest are still in the bottom three, aren't they? Or they're like near the bottom three relegation zone. They're down there fighting for their lives. Obviously, Sean Dyche has just come in. They've managed to pick up a few results here and there. Liverpool ending their last result before the international break with an absolute slapping at City. What do you see about this game, Johns? Do you think it's on the face of it, Nottingham Forest team plus Sean Dyche going to a Liverpool team that are struggling with low blocks and long balls, to get the phrase right, might be a cause for a slip up? What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, when I was looking at it to make my prediction, I was kind of in mind because I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what to make of Liverpool at this point, right? Because obviously playing against City is a hard match, right? They got spanked, but I mean, at some point they've got to be good, right? Or they've at least got to be good enough to beat these types of teams, right? We've been talking about, okay, if they finish sixth, if they finish seventh, that will be really disastrous. We're pretty confident they'll finish in the top four. You know, we still think they're better than, you know, seeing teams like that, but they're not really showing it, right? Like I know that they haven't had the easiest of games, but they're just not really showing that they're even that good, right? And I know that they beat Villa, they beat Real Madrid, but I mean, losing to Crystal Palace, losing to Brentford, losing to City, these are teams that, I mean, at least with Brentford and Crystal Palace, they should be beaten if they want to finish top four. So I don't know, like, what to make of their team, really. I don't know if they've got any big injuries coming off of the international break either, so I'm not really sure. I think from what I've seen, nothing major. So I'm really not sure what to make of them. But then for Nottingham Forest, it's another one. It's like, okay, they've had so many different managers already this season. Sean Dyche is managing to get a tune out of them in the last couple of results that he's been managing them. They are 19th in the table, by the way, so not even outside the bottom three. They're literally sitting 19th in the table. But again, obviously, because of the congestion in the table, they're not miles off of like quickly jumping up the table. But I mean, you look at like the last result against Leeds. I'm not saying Leeds are a great team, but they kind of slapped them up. Then they got was it a draw against you lot? I think they got a draw in Europe as well, in the Europa League. I don't know who it was against. I don't think it was anybody very good. I mean, like, Sean Dyche is definitely going to stabilise that team. The question is, when they do stabilise, how good are they going to be, right? Because they're definitely not going to be where they were last year. They're not going to be kind of in that top four for a consistent part of the season. So I'm just trying to think of what is their natural position in the table now they're stabilised, or once they're properly stabilised with Sean Dyche. And then trying to compare that against Liverpool, it's like, I really don't know what to make of it. So honestly, like, I feel like this result could go either way. And I was really swinging between, you know, either of the two teams winning it. And I really know. So I'm honestly probably just going to be putting a finger in there and just guessing what's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's just because Kem's not around, but I just, at this point, I'm starting to not care about Liverpool games anymore. Like, every time they lose, I enjoy it, but I'm not even like, I can't even feel the hatred burning to try and will them to lose anymore. They've lost so many in a row, more losses than Amorim in 2025. I wouldn't say I'm feeling bad for them, but I wouldn't be shocked if any team beat them at the moment. And I'm not even like kind of looking at this tie thinking, oh my God, wouldn't it be lovely if Forest won? It would probably be quite normal, which is mad, really, when you think about where all the teams were at the beginning of the season, how confident people were that Liverpool were going to win the league, or at least, be one of the heavy favourites. I just feel like the last 10 games, even though they've won the odd game here and there and drawn a few, losing 7, it's just like, I said it when we met up the other day, it's just some people trying to hold on to the idea that Liverpool is still in the race and all that. They're out the race, man. They're obviously still good enough, more than good enough to get top 4. They should, as a bare minimum. That would still be a failure if they didn't, if they got top 4. But I can't see the way that you're playing, even with, this injury now and the disappointing draw at Sunderland, the way City are playing. They're not in that bracket right now. They should be. They absolutely should be, after spending so much money. but the way they're performing, the way their players are. I mean, did you see even Hungary in the week managed to absolutely bottle a lead against bloody Republic of Ireland? Big up the Irish and all that. You know what I mean? Troy Parrott, well done. Man scored about 5 goals in 2 games. Unreal scenes for an ex-Spurs player. But yeah, even on international break, Kirkers is out here twerking and Sabozo's not quite doing enough, and their players are not shining. I mean, Wirtz, to that point, it was the opposite. He got a couple of assists, looked pretty decent for Germany. What do you make of this, Johns? Because he's obviously been absolutely shite in the Prem, or at least not near good enough in the Prem, and very disappointing. But he's still shown glimpses in like Europe and for Germany. Like, do you see this changing, or do you have concern that he just might not be Prem level?
So honestly, I don't actually know if it depends on his performances or not, whether he will work out in England. I think my big thing about it is that they don't play the way that they need to play for him to be successful. Germany do, right? The German team know him. He's got rapport with all of them. He's been doing it with them. He's more used to it, and then he can shine. And if you look at that German team, it's a good German team, right? So I look at it and I kind of say, is he going to be one of them kind of luxury type players where the team needs to be really good and then he can shine, but also at the same time, the team needs to kind of care to him to allow him to look good. And I feel like the experiences that we've had with him so far, he was obviously a focal point of Leverkusen. He's a focal point of the German team. At this point, he's not a focal point of the Liverpool team, right? He's a plane coming in. They spent a lot of money on him, but they've still got Salah. They've still got Isak. They've still got Ekatike. They've still got Gakpo on the left-hand side. They've still got a lot of these other players that want to be the kind of main man. And I don't think you're going to be able to create a team where Wirtz is the main man at Liverpool. I don't think you'd want to either. I think you'd look at Isak, you'd look at Salah, you look at even Ekatike and how he started, and you say, maybe we build and they are the key players or the key pieces in that team, and we just have a midfield that can support that, right? Kind of Liverpool season. We've got Salah, we've got Diaz. We're just going to build around them, and we're going to just say, okay, 3 midfielders have to be workhorses that support that, and we don't have room for 10. So honestly, I can see it going that they're not going to find the right way to play that highlight him. And if they do, even that team is not necessarily going to be a Prem winning type of team anyway. I think they're going to realise quickly they need to build that team around Isak and Salah and or Ekatike, and he's just going to have to fit in wherever he can. I think he'll probably stay there for a while, but I think the whole hype around him will completely die down. He'll kind of be not a failed wonder kid necessarily, but he'll kind of be in that bracket of like, a bit like the Odegaard bracket, even where like, okay, he's like an absolute class youngster, but he's not good enough in and of himself to be the main man leading your team in a really competitive league. And then I think he just figures out a way to play his role and his role in the team, and he just contributes, but he's not going to be like some star that drags the team along. So I kind of see that as being his future in English football, and it will really depend on whether he can take that or not, whether he's willing to accept being that person. If he can, then he stays and he plays there for a long time, and he's just never matches up to the price tag. Or he's got a bit more of an ego. He doesn't like living in England or whatever else, and he goes and moves somewhere else. Because I'm sure Bayern would still pick him up in a couple of years' time. I'm sure someone in Spain will pick him up in a couple of years' time. I think that's probably what ends up happening.
Yeah. I mean, he did look much better for Germany, but that is a good point you make. Like that team and that squad and the chemistry he has with a lot of those guys in the German team is obviously different to Liverpool, and it's quite understated how much of a risk Liverpool took when it comes to buying a 10, when they've kind of not really been a team with a 10 as far as we can remember, right? The last kind of behind the striker type formation they had, I can remember anyway, was probably with Coutinho, If you think about Coutinho, and he was kind of drifting in from the left, kind of into that 10 space. And before then, God, the last one before that was probably Gerrard behind Torres or Suarez or something like that. You know what I mean? It's not been a position there. If you know how people always talk, United are marauding wingers and whatever, and what the kind of the stereotypical play style. Having a 10 is definitely not something I think of when I think of Liverpool. You think of the midfield being workhorses, and the output mainly coming from the striker alongside the two inside forwards, at least in this modern version of Liverpool. So they've taken an almighty risk, changing the style and changing the formation and bringing in a player like this, where they're really going to have to work their asses off to try and embed him in their team. But I hear you. I only see this going two ways. Like, obviously, either he somehow manages to toughen up and he gets more robust, and he's obviously got the skill and the talent to play in the Premier League. I think it's more the physicality that he's not been able to keep up with. So he either fixes that or he flops, and after 2 years trying, he decides, you know what, I'm better off heading back to Germany and go and playing for Bayern, like you mentioned. I can imagine them now, doing that meme where the guy's just like licking his lips and rubbing his hands together at the idea of picking up Wirtz for like probably half of what Liverpool paid, maybe less than that even, if he flops. And I think weren't Bayer quoting them even more than they ended up selling him to Liverpool because of the not wanting to sell to a Bundesliga rival type situation. So imagine if they end up still getting him, but motivated and kind of really determined to bounce back from a poor time in the UK. They'll love it, man. So Liverpool might not even be that worried. Look, they're linked to Semenyo, bro. We haven't even talked about that. Like, there's all the Semenyo rumors going around. Liverpool linked to that. Maybe that's an admission that they think the Wirtz thing is kind of not looking that good. It's not looking good, bruv. And they're thinking, let's get Semenyo in. I don't know what you think about that.
I don't think. I think this thing more just like, okay, they realise that Ekitike is not a left winger, and they're not very happy with Gakpo. They realise that even though Wirtz, I think he played left wing for against Bakia, right? Like, even though he does that, he's not really the left wing that you kind of need in the Premier League, right? He's kind of more of like an old school left winger, low, techie, gets past me. He's a bit Sancho-esque, He hasn't got any like physical capabilities. And when I say Sancho, I mean like Sancho, right? But he's like a techie winger. He's got the footwork. He's got the dribbling ability, but he's not rapid. He's not physical. He hasn't got like a disgraceful ping on him, like an unbelievable shot or something like that, right? He's just a very clean ball. So I don't think that kind of left winger really works in the Premier League. I think Sancho is a good example of that not working and it really fitting into the league. I don't think that this thing is linked too much to him. I think it's more linked to their unhappiness with kind of the Gakpo and or Ekitike experiment they've had so far. I do think Semenyo would be a class buy for them, and I heard that he's got a very low release clause. But within that, they're going to have spent 500 million within this transfer. Within this season. That's mental, bro. If they drop another 60 on, they're at like 520 across the 25-26 season. That's mental. But the only other thing I was going to say really is, if you look at Germany, they play with a 10. But what do they have behind that 10? They've got two DMs. They've got Goretzka and Kovacic. These men are not marauding. They're not going anywhere. They're just sitting there. They're cleaning up. They're passing the ball to one of the wingers, the 10 or whatever, and they're attacking from there, right? And you look at the German attack, it's nice. So they've got options. They can play. I don't see Liverpool setting up two DMs, man. I don't see them setting up such an attacking formation. I know that they've been attacking before, but what's really allowed to do that is work rate. And particularly that work rate in the midfield, so that they press high, everyone presses with them, 3 midfielders go with them, the 4 pushes up. Like, that's how they work. That's kind of in their identity or their DNA. I don't think they're going to say, oh, yeah, grab and Birch, and then we're going to go and get somebody else as a DM and tell them to sit in front of the back 4, even though they should be at this point, because that back 4 looks real scary. I don't see them really doing that. So I don't see him working in this formation. If he does 2 DMs or kind of, let's say, deep lying centre mids behind him, I don't see it working with him. I just don't think you can have McAllister moving forward. I don't think you can have like Gravenberch trying to get more involved in the attack and also then have Wirtz doing that too. They're just going to leave their back four exposed too much. And you've seen, like, Virgil's getting older and Konate is a bit of a bozo. And the left and right back don't come back. So the left winger and the right winger don't come back either. So it just doesn't make sense from a balance point of view for them to set up in the way that they're setting up. And I think that's the reason why they're getting pumped left, right, and centre.
Yeah, but it's also like they technically did. I keep thinking about like this 10 point, right? Like they technically did play with the 10 with Szoboszlai, but he was, what did they call him? Like a
pressing 10 is what I've heard. A Gegen 10.
Gegen 10 or whatever, like whatever that means. Basically means he had no offensive output other than a long range ping, which he pulled off a few times. But apart from that, he was just energy. So even with him playing as that 10 or Gegen 10, it's not really what we consider a 10, right? What we consider as a 10 is the floater in between the lines, the creative playmaker, the one who doesn't necessarily get involved in the dirty work in midfield. And to that point, if you want that type of player, you do need the 2 6s behind him to clean everything up. And they need to be able to, like, absolutely eat grass, cover every blade. Like, they need to essentially be Szoboszlai, but with physical attributes in my mind, right? And they don't have midfielders like that. Gravenberch is a really good midfielder, and he can play DM in my mind, but he's always going to be a bit more offensive than your traditional DM and sometimes give up some space. And McAllister, you might as well forget it. He's not someone who can play 6 in my mind. He tries to play make in his own way, and he goes forward and he's looking to move forward and have an eye for goal. So they don't really, apart from Endo, who clearly he doesn't rate, they don't have the players in that position to carry out that formation, which, again, I've said it in the group chat before and also when we met up the other day. This, like, Edwards and that team need to have a look at themselves in terms of the squad building. It's been pretty poor.
Need to throw the laptop away. The laptop needs an upgrade, mate.
So exactly, they need to go to the OS Tahoe or whatever. My bloody MacBook forced me to upgrade the other day, because to go and get Ekatike, Isak, and Wirtz and spend nigh on 350 million, or it's more than that. So whatever that total is that they spent on those 3 guys, and then buy just a young centre back and not get anyone in midfield. And then also obviously get the fullbacks that they've ended up getting. It's been very FIFA Football Manager style approach, which is kind of the opposite of what the Scouts has been lauding about their whole Moneyball approach that got them, the few trophies that they had under Jurgen Klopp. So I don't know if this new version, this 2.0 version of Michael Edwards and his, Julian Edwards and whatever else, Julian Ward, I think his name was, and all those guys that he's brought back in, if it's working, because there's some clear gaps in there. I don't think
that both Isak and Ekatike are both also the strikers that would make Wirtz play well. Like, you see him for Germany, he's got Voltemada in front of him, like that kind of slow target man who's going to stay there and kind of build up and do a lot of that kind of on kind of small touches here and there to, like, feed Wirtz in to get a shot off or something like that. Like, even at Leverkusen, who was their striker? Who was the Leverkusen striker? The one with the
didn't the dodgy knee. Boniface. But
yeah,
they didn't.
Slow.
They ended up not.
He's a target man. He's just going to sit. Yeah, no, I mean, even if they did, right? Like, he's slow. He's going to stand there. He's going to nod balls on. Ekatike can kind of, like, work off of him, right? It's like the Owen Heskey type of vibes, right? One man's just there knocking balls down and the other one's trying to run onto them and so on and so forth. Isak and Ekatike are not that striker. They don't want to get involved in heads. They don't want to be really doing that. I know they're both relatively tall, but they want to be on the shoulder. They want to be getting in behind themselves. They want that service to them. They don't want to be giving service necessarily to Isak, to Wirtz. So I just don't think it works at all. And I think if you look at all the players they bought in the attack, I think you can find a way to potentially make Isak work. And we know that he's proven in the Prem. They spent more money on him. I think the way that you make Katike work, right, without changing things too crazy, you just go back to what you had last year and you stick him up front and you maybe stick Gakpo on the left or something like that. You do the same thing for Isak, it can work. But it doesn't work with Wirtz. They can't go back to the way that they played last year and somehow still fit Wirtz into that team. If they play him left wing, he's getting eaten up. If they play him as the Gagan, then he's not working hard enough to do that. He hasn't got the engine for it. So I just think they're going to have to completely create a new way of playing that is just as successful as it was previously with a 10, and they don't have the pieces for it right now to do it well. They don't have two DMs. They've got Gravenberch, cool, but Endo, as you said, he's not getting in that team. He's got no depth beyond that in terms of a DM. It's just not going to work, man. So that's why I think it's really going to be on Wirtz to change the way he wants to play or to leave if he wants to have a place in this Liverpool team. And it's going to come down to his character. Like I said, it's going to all come down to his character in the end.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I think some people will be saying we're going probably quite early on this, but I've seen enough, man. And I think at this point you can have seen enough of a player in that environment and within their team to kind of be able to predict where things might go. I still think obviously he's got talent, right? You're not bought for that amount of money and you're a bum. You've got talent. He was tearing up the Bundesliga, but I do think it's a bit overlooked, We don't put enough stock in the fact that, big money signings have come from the Bundesliga and really struggled. You mentioned one earlier that we bought for a big wad of cash, who was ripping up. People always forget Sancho. We were rightly excited to get Sancho in our team and in the league because he was ripping up the Bundesliga in Dortmund. He was scoring a crazy amount of goals and assists. It wasn't quite Haaland level, but he was quite phenomenal in terms of his output. And if you think of Wirtz, I don't think he's even reached that kind of level when he was in Bundesliga. But the impact, the height, the way he was playing for that Bayer Leverkusen team that went unbeaten, there does probably need to be a little bit more caution, I think, when Premier League teams go and buy big money signings from Bundesliga, because there's been some royal stinkers, man. There's obviously been a few successes here and there, but there's been some bad ones. I think real bad ones.
You just look at them. You just got to look at them and say, okay, does this style fit into the Premier League? I'm not even going to say like the Bundesliga is a worse league or anything else like that from a perspective. It's just more how do they play versus how we know we play. Do his attributes fit into the way that we play in the league? Do his attributes or does his position fit into the way that we play from a formation point of view? I think the answer to both of those questions is no. He's not especially physical. He's not especially quick. Yes, he's got good footwork, but he's in a position where you need to be relatively physical and or quick to be able to work out in the Premier League, right? I think you look at somebody like Haaland and you say, hey, he's banging it up in Bundesliga, but look at him. He's made for the Premier League. He's a giant. He's physical as hell and he's really quick. And he can finish like anything. He doesn't need to take many touches. He just sits into the corner. So you can look at him and say, okay, that's going to work here. Even to use Voltemada again as another example, you look at him. He's a big, lanky, crouch-looking guy. Crouch did well in the league. He looks like he could do all right in the league. An old-school kind of target man type of player that can work, especially when you've got like these little blocks that you might come up against. So it's just really a question of look at the player, look at the attributes, look at the system he plays in, and just match it up to what you play. Right? And I think if you do that, then it can work. But if you don't do that and you just go off of pure hype, which is what it is with Wirtz, right? Of course, he's had good performances, don't get me wrong. But he played in a very I'm going to say a very unique system, right? You don't look at Leverkusen and say Xabi Alonso he's just like everyone else. No, he's a very specific type of very specific type of system, and Wirtz was one of the like unique positions within that system that other teams don't necessarily have. And I'll just ask you a question: how many really, really good teams around now have an actual 10? Like world-leading teams, how many have a 10?
Like the only teams that I know have a 10 are teams that have 2 10s. And they play like the 3-4-3 kind of style, right? Which is what Xabi played. Obviously, Amorim now not doing that well, but when he was doing well at Sporting, that was the style. Obviously, Glasner, and there are quite a few coaches out there, but single 10, what we know as the 10, I don't know any teams that play that formation well right now. Certainly none that are like out there winning trophies and performing at the highest level. It's just not something, and especially the type of 10 we're talking about. Because I think Wirtz is kind of like an old school mold in terms of the 10. Like you mentioned, he's not
a purely
most
attacking 10. He's not doing.
He's not rapid.
Work.
He's not got PMP, right? So he's not blistering. He's not massively strong. He's like that kind of silky. And I compared it to the Veron thing before, and it wasn't a diss because Veron was a baller, right? He had great touch. You had like very very elusive movement. And he was a very technically strong player, and that's what Wirtz looks like. It just doesn't look like he's got the rest of the attributes to do well in the Premier League at the moment, right? Until he finds that, I think that's a fair verdict. But yeah, anyway, we've spent a lot of time on Wirtz, and our resident Liverpool fan has made accusations about Martial in the comments, but Martial scored on his debut against you scumbags, so you know what, he deserves the 8 years that I gave him. Wirtz hasn't been able to score against Crystal Palace, so apples and oranges, mate. They're not the same. Let's get into the prediction segment then. All right, Io's gone Liverpool 2, Forest 2. So he's gone for a draw. What's your prediction on this one, Johns?
Yeah, so like I said, I mean, I've been sitting on the fence with this one because I honestly have no idea. They're both looking or have good evidence for me to say they're pretty stinky. But screw it. I'm going for it. I'm going 2 Forest win. I'm saying Sean Dyche is going to roll back years and he's going to pull one out. And I think you have to remember that Forest is a good team on paper in terms of like they're not crap. They're not like a relegation fodder team in terms of man for man. You look at their goalkeeper; he was one of the best goalkeepers in the league last year. You look at their centre back pairing, one of the best Premier League centre back pairings there were last year in terms of form. You look at their right, their left back; they're all good. They're all pretty good. They've got Elliot Anderson. He's hot right now. He's doing really well. They've got people like Morgan Gibbs-White. They've got a good team on paper, and you pair that with a stable manager. I'm not going to say that he's like a world-class manager that's going to make them start playing crazy, but they're going to be stable. They're going to be solid. They're going to get an absolute rollicking anytime they make stupid mistakes at the back. Like, if they can hold off Liverpool defensively, they're going to get chances, right? Konate and Van Dijk are going to give them chances. And I know they've got some striker troubles. I don't know if Awoniyi's going to get in. I don't know if Wood's going to get in. You really don't know what's going on. But if they use a smart team, if Dyche does what he needs to do and puts Chris Wood up front, they can get some joy against Liverpool. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 Forest win. All
right, you've gone bold there. 2-1 to Forest. Kem's gone 2-0 Liverpool. He's obviously going to be at the game, so hopefully we get some nice smiley snaps of him before Liverpool get beaten. But yeah, he's gone 2-0. Reese has also gone 2-0 to Liverpool. I've gone 2-1 to Liverpool. I would love Forest to win, and I was very tempted with the draw. At 2-2, I went with was my other option, but I just think I don't, as much as I like Sean Dyche, what you're getting with him is it's kind of like a Timu Nuno, right? And it sounds effed up, but he has a similar style to Nuno, but I don't think he's got the the tactical acumen that Nuno has. So while he can set his team up in quite a defensive way and stifle teams, I don't quite think he's got the ability to coach the like counter attacking side of the game that I think Nuno was able to strike a really good balance with when he was Forest manager. And I'm going to say this till the cows come home. Forest have completely shot themselves in the foot this season. Bringing in Edu, changing the structure. Maybe it was right was on the wall last season at the end when the owner came on the pitch and gave Nuno a rollicking, and it was never going to work out anyway. But they've caused all of this for them to be in the bottom three with the squad they have, and really the trajectory they were on. Right, they were upward. I know they kind of flopped back end of last season, but still to get into Europe even before they snitched on Palace and did all that dodgy stuff. Even getting Conference League was a good result for them. They were battling relegation before then and just came up a few years before that. So for them to have gone the way they have, honestly, absolutely stinkiness, terrible behaviour. But I think Liverpool just about get the better of them. And I think if they lost this game, 8 out of 11, I think they'd like literally slide down the table massively. This is such a huge game for them already. Only 11 games, 12 games in. So I can't see them losing this game as well. But I love it. You'd love to see it. Kevin Keegan settings. Razor's gone 3-1 Liverpool. So he's also gone for a Liverpool win. And Nash has gone 2-2. He's gone for the draw as well. Let's get into the Newcastle City game. This is another interesting one, man, because I don't know about you, bro, but Newcastle have stunk this season up as well. They're like, bottom half of the table. They've lost so many games. I know away from home mainly. They've been still pretty decent at home. I think they've only lost to, was it Liverpool and you guys at home? So they've still got a pretty good record, but they've been really disappointing. And obviously now they're facing Man City, who are in, great form, coming off the back of that massive win against Liverpool. Do you think this is still a tricky tie for City? In the light of Liverpool's poor form, Newcastle's poor form, or do you think this could be lighter work than kind of the usual St. James's Park visits?
I think it has potential to be lighter work for sure, because I think if you just look at it, City are on the up and Newcastle are on the down, right? I think they definitely have been getting away with some really stinky results, and I've seen some people saying, out of the big teams, let's say the big 8 teams that you'd expect to be in and around it, who do we think, manager-wise is going to get sacked first? I've heard some people calling for Eddie Howe's head. I think they've been saying it's about time, angry at him, but it might be time to level up, right? So they're definitely feeling they've been a bit underwhelming so far this season. And I think Voltamada actually has helped paper over some of those cracks, not to bring him up for the third time, but a couple of his goals here and there, his penalty and so on. Yeah, no, but he has been in them better. I think I've been hearing people complain about Joe Linton even, who was their kind of golden child for a certain point. Like, they were not complaining about Joe Linton. They were saying, oh, he's so great, even though he's out here elbowing man out and double footing people and just being an absolute bellend. So it does have the potential to be an easy tie, but the thing I just can't look past is St. James's Park, man. James's Park is a hard place to go. You saw Arsenal when we were there. It was not easy, even though we were, in my opinion, the better team throughout the game. Still a close game in terms of the scoreline. So I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park. I think St. James's Park will get up for it, and they'll make it a difficult game. But yeah, I've got to say that means you have to be the favourites going into this. And they've got the potential to really gap on us, right? Because they've got Newcastle away. That would be a good win for them. If we can't get something over Spurs, they're back to what? Within a couple of points of us, if not 1 point of us. So yeah, also Haaland, you just can't say anything about this. It looks like he might go on and break his first season goal record, which is already the record for the number of Premier League goals in the season, and he's looking like he could easily continue that. So it's getting a bit scary for everyone out here, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. And I actually think it might end up being the game of the weekend, to be honest with you, despite the North London derby.
Yeah, I don't know how to. I mean, I think that Eddie Howe shout you just talked about, some fan, whatever Newcastle fans are saying that need to give their heads a wobble. Um, I know we live in like a in now is the moment type world at present, and everything's about what's going on in the now. But Eddie Howe's got them Champions League with winning a trophy off the back of also getting them Champions League a few seasons before that and getting to a couple of other cup finals. I'm not saying he's done miracle job because they've obviously had a bit of money and they've made a few big signings here and there, but I think he's overall done a great job there. And I think as much as you want to talk about his, the replacement Walter Mada, you also have to think about what kind of crazy madhouse Newcastle was over the summer, and how that probably impacted all the players around Isak when he was behaving like an absolute twat. So I think Newcastle would take a bit of time to kind of warm up, and in the same way, that we haven't talked about it, and I know people try and get the violins out and everything like that, but I do think what's happened in the summer, both at Newcastle and Liverpool, obviously with the Jota situation, does impact teams. And I feel like it's going to take a little bit of time for them to start coming out of their funk. And I think with Newcastle, while it wasn't obviously as tragic as what happened with Liverpool, I think losing their striker out of the blue, what it's felt like, and the way he behaved has really hit a lot of them. So I'm not that shocked that they've had some dodgy results. I'm a little bit like it's gone a little bit more extreme than I thought it would. And I feel like this is one of those games where if they really are going to bounce back, this is a great opportunity. Big team, City coming to visit at home, and they've got a chance to try and correct a few. Because if you think about that Arsenal game, despite what you said, I agree, Arsenal were definitely better than Newcastle. They led in that game, right, until the last section of the match when you guys pulled the equaliser in and then scored the winner. They were ahead for a big chunk of that game, and they could probably feel a little bit hard done by, considering the fact that they lost it kind of in that last part of the game. And then obviously with Liverpool, they did so well to pull back with 10 men and then obviously lost right in the last few seconds of the game again. So this is a bit of a redemption opportunity for them. And as much as City have impressed, they're not the infallible City of before. And I'm not going to go as far as to say we're as good as them like I did a few weeks back. But I will say that it wouldn't shock me at all if Newcastle got some sort of result in this game. I don't think it's it wouldn't be an absolute, complete surprise if Newcastle did something. But I do think it's going to be a tough one for them.
The big players are going to need to show up, man, and their big players are going to need to show up. And one thing I'll say is their transfer window made them worse. Right? I know how the centre back looks good. Don't get me wrong, he looks good, and Baltimore looks like he's not going to be quite as bad in terms of the downgrade, right? From Isak to whoever was going to follow him, right? Because that could have really gone many different ways, particularly when they were getting pied off by pretty much everyone they went after. But then you look at Elanga, he's been madly underwhelming, right? They've got worse. And if you look at back end of last season, Jacob Murphy was on bloody fire, right? And so they've gone now down from Jacob Murphy on fire to Elanga not on fire at all. And I think he's on 0011 at this point. I don't think he's done anything for them really. So it's getting really sticky for them because the rest of the league's kind of moved on, getting better, and they seem to be kind of stuck in the past, if not getting worse. And to add to it, their key players from last year are not really turning up. Anthony Gordon has been missing pretty much the whole of the season so far. Joe Linton, as I said before, has been, really getting on the Newcastle fans' nerves. Bruno G has not been necessarily stepping up either. So it's if they want to do something against City, they're going to need to show up, and one of those players is going to need to do something, man. Because they literally can't just rely on a decently solid defense and then a Dan Burn header or a Baltimore penalty or something like that. They're going to need to actually play and play pretty well, and they're going to need their key players to do so. So it's definitely a hard match for them, but I do think there's something to be said for the St. James's Park crowd and how much they get up for these types of games.
Yeah, and they'll stick the City fans up in the nosebleeds as well, which always helps with trying to stifle the away fans' momentum, right? Like if you get get a goal there or something, you can barely even hear the crowd, the away fans. Whereas in other stadiums, you can like visibly either see them lose their mind or you can hear them quite audibly. With St James's Park, they do the old tactic of sticking you up right in the gods. But let's get into the predictions then. Io's gone 2-1 Man City. What's your prediction, Johns?
Yeah, so again, I'm sitting on the fence with this one. I think it's going to be a tight game, but I do have City winning it 2-1. Like I said, I don't think any of the right players are in form for Newcastle for them to go out and get a result here. I would love them to, because it would definitely help us at the top of the table, but I just think Man City will have a bit too much for them. So yeah, 1-0 win to City, but I'm hoping it will be at least a draw.
Yeah, makes sense. Kem's also gone 2-1 Man City as well. So all three of you gone 2-1 so far. Reese has gone 3-2 Man City, so he's gone slightly more high scoring. I'm going to go 2-2. And I didn't think I'd be alone in this, but looking at everyone else's predictions, it does look like I'm the only one who's deviated away from Man City win. And I just feel like City are doing well. City have picked up some big wins. They've obviously got, Haaland firing and they're doing really well. But like I mentioned, I think they are going to be a team that are trying to grow back to that level that they were before. And I don't expect it to happen overnight. So I don't expect them to go on the crazy 15, 16 wins in a row type run at this stage in this redevelopment. Maybe next season, if they got a few more pieces and they some of the players that are playing well right now continue their form for a bit longer. But I can't see it happening now. So I still think Newcastle will see this moment as a chance for them to try and get a bit of pride back. And like you say, have the crowd kind of G them on. I will say the one player who has impressed me this season from Newcastle's Tonali. He's looked really good still. So while you mentioned some of the other midfielders kind of dropping their levels a bit, he's looked class, mate. And I have to, again, as I routinely do, put the hand up and say my bad, because I think beginning of last season or the season before I said he was arse. So I've been proven wrong yet again. And he looks really good in midfield. But I don't know if that's enough. If some of the other pieces were firing, I don't think I'd be that far away from going Newcastle win. But considering where they are at the moment, I think that might be one step too far, to be fair. Razor's gone 2-0 Man City, and then Nash has gone 3-0 Man City. So yeah, everyone's gone Man City win. This is either going to be my genius moment or yet more.
Or it's going to be truly revealed that you are just a permanent Man City hater.
Yeah, could be. Who'd have thought, huh? Man United fan hating City. Shock horror. All right, let's go on to Burnley-Chelsea then. So this is the 12:30 kickoff. We were scheduled to have Reece join, but I guess he's been engaged otherwise. So we'll crack on to this one. Crazily, I looked at the table, bro, for all the like kind of Chelsea in crisis, Chelsea title challengers. Garnacho's shit. Garnacho's good. Caicedo's the best midfielder in the league. All of the kind of weird, kind of week-to-week flip-floppy type stuff. If they win, considering their 12:30 kickoff, they go second. And they go, I think, what was it, like 3 points behind you? Obviously, you'll have a game in hand. 6 points ahead, though. That's crazy, right? What do you make of like this Chelsea and where they are? Is this a false position, or are we just going to go between title challenges, flops every single week with them?
Well, here's the thing. I don't like saying anything good about Chelsea, but I will say that like have a decent squad and they have a decent manager, and they have the benefit of a lot of the other teams that they're supposed to be challenging or in and around them look very bad. So from that point of view, they should take advantage of the opportunity that they've got here and try and come at least even third, like by the end of the season. But the big thing that I can see about them, though, and this is partly because of the transfer policy they've got of just buying young players, essentially, and the kind of really young age or young average age of the squad is that they're madly inconsistent. And they have wild moments where people just do stuff that you'd never expect to do in a bad way. So, yeah, that's partly why I explain how I would explain or kind of rationalize their weird inconsistency in the league is that they can go and beat Liverpool and then they can lose to bloody Sunderland. It's because it's a young team. They haven't got all the pieces that they need to have, and they're not used to necessarily being back in this position. So this doesn't overly shock me, and I'd really put their position down to just the other teams being crap. Because if Liverpool were as good as they should be, right, then Chelsea would be at fourth, right? If Liverpool were beating the teams that they needed to beat, they'd be fourth. And then we'd say, okay, well, that's a lot of us predicted that they would come anyway. I think the fact that they're third, yes, they can go into second with a game in hand or with a game ahead, let's say. But I think it's too crazy. I think this is probably what they expect to be: 6 wins, 2 draws, and 3 losses. That's probably what I'd expect out of Chelsea after the first, the first 11 games. So I don't think it's a false position, but I'm also not overly gassed by it. I think they're just taking advantage of the fact that Liverpool are playing like crap, and Tottenham, Villa, Man United, Bournemouth, all of these types of teams are not really lighting the world on fire. And you say that, right? If they lose this week and the teams around them win, they could easily drop down to, look how many teams there are on 18 points. You've got Tottenham, Villa, Man United, Liverpool, Bournemouth, all on 18 points. If they all get good results, depending on who they're playing, they could all go ahead of Chelsea if Chelsea don't win. So I'm not going to say it's like a false position, but it's definitely like a false sense of confidence. It's been 11 games. It's the same way that Arsenal fans that were saying, we're not going to see second. We're just going to go and win the league. They're getting ahead of themselves, man. It's been 11 games. The delta between all of us are not very big. So, yeah, I'm not reading too much into it, but they're playing Burnley. And Burnley are the worst of the promoted teams from what I can see. They're sitting in 17th. Somehow they're sitting in 17th just because Nottingham Forest and West Ham and Wolves have been so bloody stinky. But Burnley, look like a team primed to go back down. So Chelsea have to go out there and win, man. They really do have to go out there, put a statement, win it, and show everybody they can beat the teams that they're supposed to beat.
Yeah, that is a good point. I think Chelsea are what they are, and the position they sit is probably a bit higher than where they should based on their results. But as the point you've just made, 6 or 7 other teams are in and around them with similar inconsistency. So they're probably just benefiting from the fact they've been slightly more consistent, ever so slightly more consistent than that crop of teams. The fact that you can go from third to potentially, like you just mentioned, 8th or 9th maybe, or 7th even, just with one swing of results shows that to put them in a title challenge, contrary to what Kem's comment says right there, is probably not a reality. Maybe they should be title challengers based on the money they've spent over time, but looking at their results and the inconsistency, and also don't forget the injuries that have hit them in their defense. I don't think they've got the minerals and the facilities to be able to really challenge.
Cole Palmer's injured as well now. He's broken his toe or something at home, fractured his toe or something, so he's going to be out again for a while.
I thought he was out anyway, so I didn't even know he was not out.
He had a groin injury, but I think he was starting to come back from it. But apparently he was in some accident at home and he's fractured his toe, his big toe or whatever. So he's back out for a while.
Yeah, that's not good news at all. Obviously you've got Esteval and you've got a few other players that could not necessarily fill his boots completely, but they can come in and have an impact. So you build a squad for that reason, right? You shouldn't just rely on one player. But the defense is more worrying. You've got 4 or 5 players out, and I think they haven't squad built the best way in defense anyway, and in goal. So it's a slightly different situation. But yeah, it's definitely definitely been a tricky start for them. So I do think if they win and results go their way and they're in second at the end of this weekend, though, it will be a bit of a result for them. But I don't think it will end well if we continue to like put them in the title challenge. I don't think they've got the ability to sustain it. But yeah, Burnley's an
These are
interesting
the
one,
weeks
man.
where they've got to do something, though. Just to
Yeah, it
point
is,
out, say
it
on
is.
Chelsea, this is the week that they've got to do something because Arsenal have a hard game and Man City have a hard game. So if they want to prove to us that they can do something, these are weeks that they need to take advantage of because you don't get these every weekend. So this is your time,
Yeah.
Chelsea. Show us all that you belong to.
Yeah, but these are also the games they've slipped up in this season already against the teams that maybe they're expected to get the win against. Reece, mate. These are the games where you kind of expect them to step up and they've kind of faltered a little bit. So I do think it'll be a tough game for them, to be honest. And I've got it really being super tight and going, a goal either way. But let's get into the predictions. So Io's gone 2-1 Chelsea. What's your prediction on this one, Johns?
When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite, obey your thirst.
Yeah, so I mean, I've gone for a Chelsea win because I mean they've got to surely, right? They can't be losing against Burnley. So I've gone 3-1 Chelsea. So yeah, I expect that we
might have to VAR this one, Johns, because I think the message you sent in to me may have been the other way around.
Oh fuck. Okay, well, I think it's going to be 3-1 Chelsea. If it's the wrong way around, then I've royally fucked that up. But yeah, I think Chelsea will win. I don't think Burnley have enough for them. I don't care if it's at Burnley's ground. But yeah, I'm just looking back at my message that I sent to you. I have fucked that up, but surely, like, logic must prevail at some point. But anyway, yeah.
I don't know. We're gonna have to go by what's said in the message. The message it says Jonty, Burnley 3, Chelsea 1.
Shit.
Okay, this is your chance for the differential, bro. This is your moment. If Burnley win, you're gonna look like absolute legend, absolute genius.
I've gone for enough
you've had a stinker.
Other differentials in this. I really don't want that to be the differential. You've got 4 other games that are tight, and now I've got to fucking try and back Burnley against stinky ass Chelsea. Fuck me. Surely you've looked at that message as it's come through and thought, what the fuck is he going for Burnley for?
Bro, have you seen some of the other predictions I've had to call out? I don't question anyone's predictions anymore. When people are predicting mad things, I just go with what people send me and I just enter it into the outline, and that is it. So yeah, Jonty may have verbally said Chelsea win on this podcast, but he sent through 3-1 Burnley. So unfortunately, that is the score we're going to have to go with for his prediction. So he's gone 3-1
Burnley. My prediction so early as well. I had like 3 hours to check them, and I didn't check them.
Yeah, game's the game, my bro. Game's the game. All right, Kem's gone 1-1.
I think this is a travesty, and if I don't end up winning the league because of these points, I'm going to be fucking livid.
Oh, thank God we're not in the first 5-10 minutes of the pod with all this cursing that's going on. But yeah, Burnley, Chelsea, Kem's gone 1-1. Reece has gone 2-1 Chelsea. I'm going 2-1 Chelsea as well. I think yeah, right. I've gone 2-1 Chelsea. I think it'll be tight. Liverpool did go there. I know Liverpool's stinking it up, but Liverpool went there and took a super duper last minute Salah penalty to win it for them. I wouldn't be shocked if it was something similar in this one. And Chelsea snatch a late goal. Maybe someone from Argentina off the left wing, scoring a blinder. Will come in and Reece will start flip-flopping again in the group chat about him. But I think Chelsea are just about going to nick a win in this one. Razor's gone 3-0.
Jaden Antony, do something for me, please. Estelle, whoever it is, just fucking do something. I'm begging you.
Yeah, Leslie Ogachukwu, who's ex-Chelsea as well. They've got better ex-Chelsea players, Burnley, so maybe they're going to be motivated to come through. Man's so upset he's literally disappearing in his blur background. Razor's gone 3-0 Chelsea and Nash has gone 2-1 Chelsea. So yeah, everyone's gone Chelsea win except for Kem, who's gone for a draw, and Johnson's now infamous 3-1 Burnley prediction. So let's wrap up this segment and let's get on to the United-Everton game. Monday evening, last game of the week. Like we mentioned at the beginning of the pod, we're playing Monday evenings quite frequently from now until Christmas, New Year's. Everton are doing decent. They've obviously had a few sticky results recently, obviously losing that crazy game to Spurs where they were much better than Spurs and somehow lost 3-0 at home. Crazy game. But other than that, they've been doing okay. But yeah, United at home, we've got a pretty good record at home. I think Arsenal are the only team that we've dropped points to at home so far this season. So hopefully we're able to, yeah, exactly, Viva. Hopefully we're able to, continue that form going forward. But obviously we've had the news that Benjamin Sesko's injured for the next 2-3 weeks, which is a pretty good outcome considering it looked like he did his knee quite badly in that Spurs game, God knows how. But that does open up a spot in the team for us to kind of shuffle the pack a little bit. John, so I'll go to you first. I've got my theory on what we're going to do, which I'll share in a bit. But who do you think is going to come into the team? How do you think Amrim's going to set up now with Sesko out injured?
What do you usually do? I feel like you usually play one of the 2 10s in that role. I feel like you're going to probably put Cunha up front and then put Mount in as the 10 and keep the rest of it the same. Probably Bruno and Casemiro starting. It's a game that you should probably win. So I can imagine you're going to go with relatively attacking wing backs. So I'd be surprised to see maybe Dorgu on the left-hand side and then Ahmad on the right-hand side. I think that's surely that's got to be set up. And then De Ligt ain't getting out the team. Like, he's been probably your best defender by far this season. And then what, you're going to surround that with Yo, who had a hilarious highlight of, or low light, I should say, of him doing like the cha-cha slide, getting absolutely rinsed, which made me laugh. I'm assuming you'll probably play him and or Luke Shaw. So I think that's how you've got set up, right? That's usually what you do. You stick Cunha and Boma up front, right?
Yeah, I do think I think we will go Cunha up top with Mount filling in the 10 role, left 10 role. I think that makes sense for this game. But you know what? I would really love to see Xerxes brought in, but he won't be. But I would love to see him brought in because ultimately we're going to lose Mbeumo, we're going to lose Ahmad, we're going to lose Mazraoui at the African Cup of Nations. And we got to start forming some sort of relationship with those other squad players who are going to have to fill in for the 4 or 5 weeks when potentially those guys are gone for international duty. So I'd love to see Xerxes come in, but yeah, I do think what you mentioned is probably going to be the team. I'm going to sidestep the Euro shade. I did see that clip, but it looked like he kind of slipped over, so I'm going to give him grace, especially considering that Xerxes, the guy I just mentioned, sent your defender on his ass a couple of times. So it can happen to the best of them. It's all good.
It can, but
I don't think
where's Xerxes now? Where's Saliba?
I actually don't know if Euro will start. By the way, I do think there's a chance that we see Shaw, De Ligt, and potentially Mazraoui at right centre back, which I'd be okay with, to be honest. But I do like Euro in at the right
one actual centre back. In your defence, you'd have literally one actual centre back. That would be very attacking.
It would be, but I'll be okay with it, man. We're playing Everton at the end of the day, and Everton have got Beto and that guy Barry up front, none of which scare me when it comes to being a striker. You're better off having a more agile, mobile left and right centre-back who can take on someone who's a bit more, in that Ndiaye, Grealish, Who's on the right side for them?
Dewsbury Hall
Isn't
plays
it?
for them as well.
Yeah, maybe a Dewsbury Hall, someone like that. You know what I mean? You need players who've got quick feet and are able to shuffle and get around those kind of players with good ball control. I think Euro could do it, but I wouldn't be shocked if Mazraoui came in. And Euro's kind of been in and out of the team. I think kind of Amrim's been trying to protect him a bit and not give him too much game time over the last couple of weeks. But I would like to see Yoro as well, but I just think it's a bit of a toss-up between him and Mazraoui. I would plead to play Yoro and bench Dallo if that means Mazraoui can go and take his spot, because I don't want to see Dallo play for us again. But knowing Amram, he's probably going to play Dallo. He loves Dallo. So I do think just the single swap for... Although I think in the Spurs game, did we start Sesko? I don't think we did, right? He came on as a sub and then he went off. So I do think there's a chance. Yeah, exactly. I do think there's a chance we go with the same team as we played against Spurs, or the alternative you just mentioned, Mount in the 10 and Cunha up front. But yeah, like I said, let's try and get Xerxes on the pitch, man. We haven't seen him for a while. Let's get into the predictions then. So Io's gone 2-0 United. What's your prediction on this one, Johns? Everton win?
I've got to check it because apparently I can't seem to type properly. Yeah, okay, good. I've gone for Man United win 2-1. I do think you lot need to be careful because, and the main place you need to be careful is in the midfield, because they've got people like Idrissa Gana Gueye who will come out and pop up with a goal every now and then. They've got people that will crash the box. They've got a pretty good kind of left wing 10, right wing combination of Njai, Grealish and Dewsbury Hall. So I do think, yes, of course, Barry might not cause you problems and Beto might not cause you problems. But whoever's watching, the left winger and the right winger and the 10 need to be real careful, because if you get Caribbean, as Mark Goldbridge likes to say, track your runners. If you don't track your runners, you're going to get a lot of late runs into the box. And if Bruno's not on job, if Casemiro's not on job, I do see them kind of putting a couple goals past you. So you do need to be careful. But I'm just going to go to Man United 2-1. I think you're on a good run. I think you've kind of cracked the biggest problem you had last season in terms of being able to score goals. Sesko's not going to make any difference to that if he's not there, really, because he barely scores goals anyway. And he misses a lot of big chances. So, yeah, I think actually you probably got a chance without him in your team. So, I mean, I'd bet that Mbeumo gets on the score sheet. I think Cunha's been putting in good performances, working off a lot coming out of the back of it. But I do think at some point he's going to start banging goals in, or at least getting assists. So I think he'll have a little bit too much for that. And I still think that you guys haunt David Moyes' dreams, or let's say his nightmares. And he still is maybe, let's say, a bit salty about what happened between you guys. So I can see you guys win. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Man United win. You are at home, right? So, despite the fact that Old Trafford ain't what it used to be, it's still something.
Yeah, we've been good at home, man. Only the Arsenal game was the only L we've taken at home. I think we've won every single other game at home. We've had Chelsea at home. We've had obviously Brighton at home. Tough fixtures for us anyway, at least. We managed to get wins. So I think our home form is what's really going to keep us in this top 4 race going forward. I think every time we play away, we look very ropey and susceptible to concede stupid goals, even against teams that, quite frankly, I think we're better than, like Forest, for example, like Spurs. We kind of threw away those games from winning positions. So I think at home we're more likely to stay in control of some form. But yeah, we do. You make a good point. That's been our issue for as long as I can remember, tracking runners and those third man runs from midfield, and especially when you've got a Bruno who's a bit more attacking. He never tracks his runners. He never really looks over his shoulder. He hasn't got those instincts, and relying on Casemiro to do that with 2 players. An aging Casemiro, as much as he's turning the clock back. I don't know if you saw his Brazil performances over this international break. Man was absolutely vintage Casemiro vibes, man. He was balling. but I don't think he can keep that going, and he hasn't got the physicality to be able to last more than 60 minutes anyway. So you kind of need to have a game almost wrapped up by 60 minutes. So when you bring on Ugarte, you can't absolutely fuck it all away. But we haven't been in that position, right? We've been in positions where we've either been 1-0 up, 2-1 up, or something like that, or even kind of thrown away a few goals in that time. And when Ugarte comes on, all hell breaks loose. So, yeah, who knows? Reese has put up this question, like, what is Amram's problem with Xerxes? God knows, man. I think it's mostly work rate.
Name here. You don't even have to say Xerxes. You could say you could say Menu. You could say a lot of people. What is his?
There's only a few.
Loads of people.
There's only a few in this current squad. I guess Xerxes, I think, and Menu are the two main ones that are probably kind of asking why they're not getting game time. And then with Casemiro's recent form, you know, as much as I want to see Menu get more minutes, it's a tricky one. Unless he changes his formation, which I'm not against him doing, it's going to be hard to find enough spaces for all of them. With Xerxes, what I will say is if he can't get in at centre forward with Sesko out, as much as your little digs about Sesko not scoring goals, he does offer a lot to the team aside from the goals. He's obviously got assists, and his overall, like, he wins a lot of his duels, and the way he's actually involved in the link-up play, he's actually offering a lot. I don't think that Xerxes is a player that couldn't offer the same. Like, I think he's shown before in spurts in the last season or so that link-up play, holding the ball up, supporting potentially two on-rushing 10s is perfect for him, right? If you expect Xerxes to be the out-and-out finisher,
if you take goals out of the equation,
he's not a bagsman.
Sesko ain't really contributing anyway. Xerxes might be better at that job than Sesko.
Well, or he could at least be comparable, right? He can at least offer something. Because what I will say is it's underrated. It's like Sesko wins a lot of headers. He wins a lot of his duels. I don't know if Xerxes does quite the same in the air, quite the same with the duels, but he definitely, when he gets the ball, right, when it's actually on his feet, it sticks. And he's got lots of beautiful link-up play. Like, people always do the comps about Xerxes and all his bloody little link-up play and all his touches. So he definitely offers a lot. So if Sesko's out now for a few weeks, and then plus you've got AFCON, like I mentioned earlier, you've got to try and give him some game time. And you've got to at least experiment with the idea that he might work with Acuna and with a Mbeumo, with a Ahmad, with these guys who could potentially run off him. And who knows, man? See after that if it doesn't.
Bomb squad.
I mean, it seems like it.
Bomb squad. You're not sticking them, in a separate changing room. You're not training the under 21s, but they are essentially barred from playing. And he's one of them.
Seems like it, man. It seems like it. But it would be sad if he doesn't at least get a bit more of a chance in this period now. It's kind of inexcusable if he doesn't get a bit of a run out. So you went 2-1 United, right? So Kem's gone 2-0 United. Reese has also gone 2-1 United. I've gone 3-1 United. So I think we'll get the win, but I can't not see Everton score. Like, I think they'll definitely get a goal. They might get a goal, like, to pull one back or half the deficit, make things a bit sticky for the last 20 minutes or 15 minutes or so, and then we kind of get one to wrap it up. But I think it's going to be an interesting game. I don't think it's going to be one-way traffic, and like you mentioned, David Moyes obviously is always going to be quite motivated to get a good result at Old Trafford after kind of what happened with him there. And he's got that Everton team playing decently, and they've actually, I think, for once, got a bit of a positive outlook on where their squad might be going and where their team might be going. I think they're actually on an upward trajectory, which is probably the first time we can say that in many, many years with all the drama that surrounded their team. So, big up them. Only Scousers I actually like are the blue ones. So come on, Everton. But you're going to take the L in this one. Razor's gone 2-2 and Nash has gone 2-0. So, all right, that's all predictions in for all 6 games. Is it 6? Yep. Nope, 5, because you guys are playing each other, Arsenal Spurs. So let's see how the weekend shakes up. Before we end the pod, John, so I just want to, obviously, a big trending topic at the moment is this Jude Bellingham situation. Obviously, Ian Wright's come out with a passionate kind of defense of Bellingham and Black English players, with the media kind of being notoriously biased kind of in their coverage. Obviously, Bellingham's been in the news with all this stuff going on with Tuchel and all this kind of drama that's been kind of ruffled up around him. Well, what do you make of the whole situation? Obviously, this has happened with the Sterlings, the Saka, Rashford, Sancho after the Euros final. There's been a lot of stuff, along this kind of narrative. What do you make of this Jude Bellingham versus the English media situation?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a strong opinion either way. I think like Jude Bellingham has an ego to him, right? A lot of the greatest players always will. You can tell that from his celebration. You can tell that from what happened in Madrid and some of the rumors about, his family coming, getting barred from this, that, and the other. So I think he's a player with an ego. He's a very good player. Obviously, he's probably arguably, if not the best, one of the best players in the England team. Obviously, he's got some stiff competition from players like Kane and Saka and so on and so forth. But he's one of our stars. So he kind of earns the right to have a bit of an ego to him. And so, when Tuchel takes him off and he kind of throws his arms up, like, who gives a shit? Players do that all the time. All right, like, who gives a crap? If he was running around like Vinny Jr. or whatever, like crying and like going crazy on the touchline and this, that, and the other, taking England out of his bio or taking Real Madrid out of his bio, then it'd be a different story to talk about, right? But I just think it's what generally happens with the English media, which is, if you aren't one of the chosen few, which in most cases does have a racial element to it, when you do something wrong, even if it's in with the intentions or whatever else, they hammer you for it more than they would anyone else, right? You can see it in any other way, right? Like one of the chosen few misses a penalty, they might get on the back page or whatever else, but they're not going to get like zoned in on them. They're not going to get a headline specifically about them. They'll kind of be able to kind of skate through it and get by, and it's fine. If it's Rashford, if it's Saka, if it's Bellingham, if it's whoever, they're going to get crucified for it. They'll be on the back page. They're going to be making all kinds of, what they think are jokes about these players in their headlines and so on and so forth. And they're just going to get hammered way less than anybody else would. And whether it's got a bad intent to it or not, you're going to get hammered for it. And so, to me, it's really cheap, especially when you look at who the journalist was, that Craig Hope guy who's been full of it the whole of the summer as well. Like, I just look at, he's tweeting something, I'm ignoring that. I'm not clicking that link. I'm not looking at it. I'm not reading it. It's bollocks. And then I see fucking Jeff Stelling or whoever else saying, oh, yeah, you should read this. Even more reason why I'm not going to read it. It's total bollocks. Don't need getting involved in all this bullshit, right? We've got enough crazy shit going on just in the realm of football Twitter and how everyone goes after each other, and everything's so political. I don't need to be involving myself in all this England stuff as well, where it just gets even more political. So overall, I think everyone grow up, touch grass, whatever you want to say. He's a player that got subbed off, was a little bit upset about it. Who gives a shit? If he comes out there, double foot someone, headbutts the manager, throws his shirt on the ground, starts crying on the touchline, and walks down the tunnel, yeah, we have a conversation about it in a bit of a twat. Outside of that, man, just touch grass. Find something else decent to write about. We won 8 out of 8 games or whatever it is. You want to make everything big? Go and write about the fucking Ashes. Go and write about something else controversial. No one needs to talk about this shit. We did a good job. Let us get into the cup and have a good time. Stop making a mountain out of a molehill. You're old enough. I know your jobs, livelihoods, and whatever else about built on clicks now, but they go and work for fucking TMZ or TMZ or the Shade Borough. You're supposed to be a respectable journalist. Fucking act like them.
Yeah, it's just we do this so much, man. It's just like such a repetitive cycle, and every single time I feel like the reaction to it becomes stronger, and more people like your Ian Wrights now come out and speak out about it, on big platforms. I just don't know when we're going to get to the point where they actually take heed of kind of everyone's feelings and listen to the feedback they're getting. Like you mentioned, it's just absolutely berserk. England go the entire World Cup qualifying campaign with a perfect record, winning every match, not even conceding a goal. Bear in mind, they had some decent teams in there, obviously some shit as well, but they've had the Serbias and a few other teams in there where, at least a draw here and there would be kind of overlooked. It's not a terrible result, but they've performed so well. There's been no drama around the camp other than this one player creating this many clickbait articles and this many journalists all, tweeting and posting about him. It's just, if there ever was the stereotypical kind of witch hunt targeted kind of attack on a player, this would be it, right? Like, I think someone clipped all of the guy's clippings of all the tweets and news articles he's written about Bellingham and this England situation throughout this really good campaign, of which Bellingham's been involved, not maybe to the level he wanted to be, but again, that's fine, right? He's a young player, but he's also a big player. You can expect he would, like you said, would get upset if he's taken off, would be upset if he's left out of the squad. But, he's been injured, and Tuchel's trying to build a bit more of a coherent squad that doesn't just rely on one or two players. And they're just trying to find any sort of way to create a shitstorm around it. And like you mentioned, negativity what drives a lot of their engagement. So they've just gone down this same well-trodden path. But the issue is more people are copped onto the fact that it's very, very, it's not a coincidence that it's Bellingham. It's not a coincidence before that it was Rashford, Sancho and Saka. It's not a coincidence before that it was Raheem Sterling. It's not a coincidence that it's been Tosin Adarabioyo when Phil Foden was doing the same thing. It's not a coincidence, man. We're all, eyes are wide open to what's going on. So it just, as much as I'm always going to understand British people's tendency to not like the big time Charlie, at the same time, we've had many big time Charlies of all different backgrounds, but it always tends to be the ones from a certain background that get this kind of response, this negative reaction. So, yeah, man, Craig Hope individually, respectfully, mate, sort yourself out, get a life, get over the fact that Isak has ruined your dreams in the summer. Go and start, getting another hobby or finding another way to take out your anger rather than writing absolute drivel about, young players who are just trying to help ultimately our country win trophies and be successful. For once, can we just let them actually succeed and try and help them and not try and find ways to tear them down, especially the young black players in our team? It's a joke, man. And big up Ian Wright for his speech on the overlap. It was well said and also really needed and made good points, man. It brought up the Pogba one, which obviously is not an English player, but he received very similar treatment from our media when he was here. It's about time we just let people be how they are. Like you mentioned the Vinny one. Vinny's another example. All right, sometimes it looks a bit silly, some of the things he's doing, but ultimately, these are people. Some people are like that in life. Some people are more expressive. Some people are more docile. Some people are more kind of aggressive and angry or kind of emotional. And then that's how it is. Ultimately, we're going to need Bellingham to win. So why they're writing this crap, I don't, Well, I was going to say I don't know, but I think we do know. But anyway, let's wrap up the pod here, Johns. We've got lots of big matches coming up this weekend. Lot of changes potentially in the prediction league. I think every single week we've had loads of prediction. We've had loads of position changes in the prediction league. Let's see how things shake up. And for your sake, I think you're hoping in Burnley win, huh? Let's hope Burnley get the. Come on, Viva Burnley. Let's end the pod here. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. Thanks, Johns, for joining, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.